Hi, everyone. My name is Natalie Raffeiner. I'm an instructor online with Ashton College. I teach the carpentry exam prep for the IP Red Seal exam. I am a ticketed Red Seal carpenter here on Vancouver Island. I run my own construction company called Portal Woodwork. I do a lot of renos, some landscaping, furniture, a little bit of new builds, but mostly timber framing and timber frame kits are my favorite thing to work on. Um, I've always been interested in careers where I get to work with my hands. Um, I was a musician for a long time, a chef for several years, and then I got into carpentry after becoming a single mother and knowing that I needed to come up with a means to take care of my son and my large property by myself and to take some retraining in something that wouldn't take many years. So luckily, through the Métis band, I was able to get a foundation carpentry program and an apprenticeship through a design build company after that. And yeah, so here I am. Um, I come from a long line of carpenters and woodworkers, and this has always been an interest of mine. So I'm really lucky that I get to do this now. Um, I have always been incredibly enthusiastic about what I'm doing, about wood, about building, and about talking. So I was able to be asked to teach a couple carpentry trade samplers at VIU, and then a few of the women in trade carpentry samplers for VIU and Camosun. When I wrote my IP after my fourth year, I felt very confident in the content that I was taught. I felt like all of my teachers and my peers, we did such a great job um, studying and helping each other. I felt very underprepared for writing the actual IP exam. I found that the way that the format that they taught us for how to go about it was just missing a lot of key steps. And I thought that if I ever got the chance to be able to give people some advice, I would love to. And so when this opportunity came up with Ashton College, I was really excited to get to help people study and help people prepare for this really difficult exam. Um, so I've been an instructor with Ashton College for this course for I think a couple of years now. I've taught the course several times, and um, now I'm here to talk about um, the title of this webinar is Carpentry is Curious. So just how having a curious and enthusiastic outlook has really helped me. And as I get older, the more people that I meet in and out of my trade, and the more lectures and interviews I listen to, the people who I notice that are the most happy are those who feel are the most curious and open. So I feel like gaining knowledge in and out of your trade is really what is going to not only keep you interested and happy and successful in your life, but also help you to stand out from the other people in your trade or specialty who might be just trying to put in a paycheck and get to the end of the day and live for the weekend or the 2 weeks off that they get through the year. Um, you never know when your knowledge is going to be useful. I've always had several side hustles or hobbies going at the same time, and I'm always amazed how they always seem to come full circle around to what I'm working on, and these new skills seem to appear in the work that I'm doing, whether it's basket making or crochet or whatever you might like to do to take your mind off things. Is often incredibly valuable for helping you to think about um, your bread and butter. Um, I've noticed that ego and insecurity is what really closes doors. If you're always trying to be the smartest person in the room, you are not going to be learning anything from all the other people in the room. Your learning is done. And how are you ever going to get to be the smartest person in the room that way? So that type of attitude really closes doors. It closes learning and being curious and being open to what everyone else has to say or what your building material is trying to teach you, what your mistakes are trying to teach you. Being curious about them instead of insecure about them, that's what really opens doors. So, bringing this into action at your workplace, it starts with surrounding yourself with lots of different kinds of people. Um, and that can begin just with asking people questions, asking subtrades questions, talk to them at lunch, talk to them about what they like to work on when they're not there, talk to them about products that you've heard about, talk to them about what they are working on in this project or why they're doing what they're doing. Um, Even talk to them about something that you think you know the answer of, because you might get some insight into something that you didn't know before. So, not only does this endear you to them, they'll remember you, they'll want to do better work for you, and they might refer you more work in the future. So, creating this environment of curiosity and asking questions and talking to people, um, I feel has been one of like if I have any gifts or talents, it's that. I love talking to people. I love building networks. I love making connections between people. And when I think back on some of my most important friendships, they come from me just being super interested in whatever they were working on and asking them about it. So also talking to other people, I've noticed that a lot of them, like especially when I tell them what I do, they're so intrigued or jealous or want to be a part of it. They're like, I wish that I had gone back and instead of being a drywaller, I had been a carpenter. And I always respond like, well, then just do it. Just go do it. I mean, of course, it's not as easy as that, but essentially, like, you're what it's going to take you 10 years to become a competent, like successful carpenter. You're going to be here for 10 more years. Do something that really excites you and brings you joy. You should go to work and be excited to think about it. It should bring you, like, it should be joyful to think about. So, um, a lot of people do. And that's where my job often comes in. People who have either been in the trades their whole life and they're switching to carpentry, or people who have been in carpentry and are just looking to get certification to work somewhere new, and they might want to be challenging the IP exam. But we need to remember that what we do is called a trade. We are in the trades. So it should be in our nature to ask people questions, to be trading stories, to be trading materials, tools, information. We should be trying to help each other and build each other up and be curious about what everyone's working on. Um, Once you're in an opportunity that you can build your own team, the more diverse of a team that you build, the stronger your team will be. If you are trying to run a specialty framing company and you are just trying to frame as fast as you can by the square foot, um, you probably want to get a whole bunch of really fast, really strong framers who think about framing. If you're trying to build really exciting projects that are interesting to everyone in your team for clients who have really exciting ideas, then having a very diverse team is what is going to make you successful. Having people from all over different parts of the world, different trade backgrounds, different genders, different ages, different strengths of all kinds. This is what's going to make your team successful. And then trusting that people can learn new things, that a mechanic can be a carpenter and be valuable. One thing that we all have in common when we become a tradesperson is we're learning how the world works. We're learning how materials and math and science come together to make things happen, um, hopefully in the most efficient of ways. You often see musicians who seem to be able to just pick up any instrument and be able to play it, um, because they've put in the time, they've put in the love, they put in the hours, and they understand how music works. They understand the patterns. They get what they're trying to do. That's what tradespeople are doing. We understand the way the world works. And the more that we are curious about what each other does, the more that we're going to have a better understanding of that. Um, I've never been the most physically strong person on my team. I knew that right away. But I had two choices, and I could feel insecure and let that anxiety rule my thoughts and be noisy and basically just shut down, or I could remember the carpentry adage that there are no problems, only solutions. And I could be a solutions-based person. I can try to find solutions. I can try to find ways to be valuable in the strengths that I can have. And just like a physically strong person has to work hard to become physically strong, um, my strengths in math and physics and problem solving are not natural. They were built, they were practiced, and I knew I needed to develop them. I have no special, incredible genius gift for math. I am still terrible at small math addition, subtraction percentages, but I have trained myself how to think about problems in a way that I can solve, how to use leverage, how to understand the way that materials move, what their properties are. And in this way, I found that I developed a skill set that was possibly even more valuable than someone who could just move the timber with a sledgehammer. I can move it with math and leverage, and then I don't wreck the timber. So, um, using a tool set that you have access to and figuring what that is, figuring what your strengths are, and knowing your weaknesses is also a strength. Knowing where to say, like, I need you to help me lift this. Can you climb this? Also knowing that your physicality and abilities are also a strength compared to somebody else. If you can fit your wrist in somewhere because it's very small, the person with the huge hands and huge wrist and huge arms can't fit theirs in there. So if both of you can just accept this and not feel bad, then you become that much stronger of a team. So being enthusiastic about learning about new products, techniques, and ideas, it can keep you on the cutting edge of your trade and bring really creative results for your projects. Also, being open to past methods, simple machines, and math, that can make your life easier and your work more efficient. So, math is a tool, it's a strength. It doesn't have to be a special talent. Um, and different brains are going to be, different brains and different bodies are going to be tuned to have different strengths. Um, I was diagnosed with ADHD late in life. And when I was, definitely started to see more of these tendencies in my peers in the trades. Um, and uh, what comes along with these types of tendencies is, anxiety, dyslexia, and the misidentifying characteristics of people in the trades as being possibly slower or less intelligent. And it's really not the case. Um, we often are people who possibly just prefer to work with our hands, figure out problems with solutions that we can see. We like to be outside. We like to be moving around. We like to be physically active. And so carpentry really is a home for a lot of us to land in. Um, it doesn't mean that we're not capable of memorizing or solving mathematical problems. Um, It might just mean that we like to do it in a different context. So, where some might really be able to do their math on paper and apply that to wood and the strange quirks that wood has, for a lot of people, that's very intimidating and it's not how their brain thinks. And they would rather do things with glow sticks and spacers and things that they can physically hold and see. So, again, bringing diversity to your team and different techniques, there's a lot of different ways to solve a problem. Um, what becomes, when it becomes really an issue is, of course, when writing the IP, because it's a test that they can't judge you on by how well you actually build something or how fast you can dig a trench. They're judging you often just on your math and your knowledge recall. So the IP becomes quite a point of anxiety for many people. So um, I like to, when I teach, try to give math a context, give it a place to um, give it a place to live in your brain in a pattern that you can see, so that you can hopefully take that back to the workplace and try it out and see how it works. Um, I've been really lucky to be able to be teaching this long. I get to talk about these things often, so they're fresh in my brain and I get to use them all the time. And I do find that I use them a lot more on the job site in real life because I get to talk about them. Um, but so much of what we do and so much of our problem solving is based on instinct. Um, that instinct comes from school experience, our subconscious, um, a teaching moment through a mistake or storytelling. So, being curious about other people's stories and mistakes can really bring you a lot of those instincts that you might have. Some of it might be ancestral. Um, Certain tasks, when you do them, you might think to yourself, like, oh, well, I've been doing this for thousands of years. This feels completely easy. Sometimes you might solve a problem that you have no business knowing the answer to. And if you just let that run, let that sparkle brain just do what it needs to do, then you can enjoy that curious brain and be really successful. Um, if you let imposter syndrome or your anxiety or insecurity start to flow, it really shuts all those channels down. It gets really noisy and you start to second guess everything that you're doing. Um, so asking questions and explaining why you're doing something to someone else if they have questions, um, a lot of that can really help quell the anxiety down. I came up with the adage when I started carpentry that was trust no one. And it just means that if you have a different way of doing something that makes no sense to me, we should really talk about it until I convince you or you convince me, or we decide that like either way could work. But um, just try to understand fully what someone is saying to you, um, including yourself. Try to have it make sense. So you can give someone a tool that is completely incredibly useful for you, but totally impractical for somebody else because of their body or the way that they think. So math is a tool that you can give someone for free. You can give it to them to try, and it might work for them. It might not. It might work in only like special circumstances, but it doesn't hurt to give it a try. And um, this course is, I think, pretty useful at showing you where all of those types of techniques could be used. So for the IP course, it's a 9-week course, and I break it up into sections, kind of based on how you would build a building. It starts with um, bylaws, paperwork, insurance documentation, site work, everything that happens before you ever, lay concrete, and of course, safety. And then we move into concrete, we move into framing, um, roofs, finishing materials, and siding, cladding, all of those things come at the very end. So each week we talk about um, our main subject, let's say it's concrete, and we'll do some quizzing based on that. And then I'll usually spend like the last third of the class teaching a math concept that we use when we're forming concrete, making concrete stairs, the math that would be necessary for forming those, so that when the IP comes, you have an idea of what kind of math they're going to be asking you about. So each week, that's kind of how it's set up. I give so much study material and practice exams. The course is really like a focused study group. It is not here to teach you fourth year carpentry or all the years of carpentry. This is here just for you to hone the skills that you already have. Um, Carpentry is an intensely dense content-based course. There is so much material to know. And like for instance, when me and my peers were in fourth year carpentry, we would be in class or in the shop for about 6 hours, 4 days a week. And then every day we would be studying about 3 to 10 hours of carpentry content. Um, and we would be studying in groups with each other or at home. And still, when we took the IP, many of us nearly failed. It's a very, very difficult exam to take. So I try to remind everybody of that when they take this course, that most of what you're going to gain is from studying at home and coming up with a good system for that. And then the 2 hours with me and the other students, that is for us to clean up all of those skills, to quiz each other, to really sharpen all of that. So that's about how the course is based. And the more that everyone contributes and speaks and answers questions, the better the classes move along. Um, People are getting their red seals. Most of them are people who have been carpenters their whole lives. A lot of them are project managers with big commercial companies. Some of them have their own construction companies. And they either want to get this as a personal accomplishment, or they are wanting to work in another province that requires having a red seal, or they're trying to get a specific job. Um, some of the students have been to carpentry school, they've taken the IP and failed, and so they're trying to take it again. And after a couple of tries, you're required by the IDA to get retraining. And so that can look like this course. Um, so those are the types of students that are usually taking it. A lot of them come from all over the world, but they're currently living in Canada. Um, some students really need this IP for points for their visa in order to stay in the country. So for some people, it's a really important part of them getting to stay in Canada. Um, Getting this IP, getting this red seal. So there's lots of different avenues to having it. One is you can teach for Ashton College in order to get this job. I had to have a red seal. Um, for a lot of larger commercial companies, it's going to be something that they're looking for um, on your resume, just like to start. They're going to want to see that you had the follow through to go through with this. Sometimes, especially if they're looking for employees that are going to be in positions of management, for liability purposes, they want to know that you understand the amount of safety required, the amount of um, how documents are drafted, how to read blueprints. And for all those things, you need to be able to pass the IP in order to have. So those are the types of positions that can arise from um, getting this type of exam. So I feel like it's been a long time since a lot of us, especially people in the trades, have been to school. So for some people, just the act of studying is kind of strange. They're not really sure how to go about it. And in this course, I go over, effective ways to develop a routine, good study habits, living habits, ways to fit into your life and to talk to your family in order to help them support those habits too. Um, if math is an especially hard struggle for you, there's lots of resources. If you're thinking about taking this course, but you know that math is definitely a weakness for you, you can reach out ahead of time, and there's lots of resources that um, I can give to help prepare for taking this course. Um, for a lot of people, it's kind of a non-starter. If their very basic math just isn't where it needs to be, they'll find that this entire course they will have a very hard time understanding it. There's a lot of carpentry subsects that don't require a lot of math at all. Or, like I said, there's other ways to get around it. String lines, drawings, like using pieces of wood, right? So, getting getting up in your math skills is really something that is required to be able to pass this exam. Do lots and lots and lots of practice exams. There's lots of studies that show how setting up an exam scenario and doing a practice exam is one of the most effective ways of studying. So I provide a lot of those practice exams, and it's really a fantastic way to quiz yourself on how much your studying has taken hold. And be curious about what you're learning about. If there's, if you're a residential carpenter your whole life and, you are being asked to really understand deep concepts of commercial carpentry, and you don't know anything about gang forms or high-early concrete, watch YouTube videos, listen to some other people talk about it, like get a context for how this actually is applied so that when you're reading about it, you can imagine how it's going to be used. It makes it a lot easier to remember it. And of course, talk about what you're learning with other people. Help them to be curious, and it'll help you remember um, the content required for this exam. Um, in closing, I think that we are so lucky to be carpenters and have this as our trade. We get paid to work out, build and solve puzzles outside, sometimes in the most beautiful places in the world. If we take pride in our work site, our tools, and our bodies, and especially our brains, we'll be more successful. We'll be with people will be people that others will want to work with and be around. Our clients will be able to communicate with us better, and most importantly, I think we'll be happier. Because in a world where so much is uncertain and unknowable, carpentry is a puzzle, and carpentry can be solved with a curious mind. So, thank you for listening to me rave about this incredible trade. And if you would like to learn more about this course or Ashton College, you can reach out to me at my email. I will post it in the webinar. And if you're interested in preparing for the IP, or if you're feeling stale in your current specialty and want to spark some ideas for doing something new in carpentry and joining a study group, then this course could be for you. It's a great way to learn new things. So thank you very much.